Jeff Fuller with you. Glad you could join. Jay Fuller Interviews is what the show is being called now. It might be something different in the future as we launch a new podcast, but for the time being, you can go to Jay Fuller Interviews on YouTube, Facebook group, Instagram, and Twitter. And we want to feature the best stories to make our stories even better. And right now we have Coach Carp with Win the Moment. Coach, good to have you on.
Good to be here. How y'all doing down there?
We're doing well. Now, just to start off, you guys are actually playing some softball. What's that like to be able to get out there and coach these kids up?
Man, it's been great. And, everything's a long answer, but just getting them outside, it's we talk so much about the natural physical health effects, but the mental health effects, right? And so it's been awesome to get the girls back on the dirt, and for us coaches also. It's been great.
Now, what is it about softball, baseball that's always drawn your interest? Is that the only sport that you grew up playing?
It is, kind of football, basketball. Of course, I was terrible at all of them. But, baseball, Pete Rose sucked me in. I'm an old Cincinnati Reds fan. And, baseball, America, apple pie, Chevrolet, it's so much fun. I like to call it romantic, but it trips people out when I say that. But it's such
And I know what you mean. There is a romance to that of sports. Now, are you an only child? Did you have siblings? How did they push you if you did?
Woo! Wow, we have to do a couple more shows for that. So an abandoned kid back in high school. And so I'm an only adopted child. Wow. And my wife and I now have 7 kids. That's a whole nother therapy session.
Well, that's good. Just share, if you could, just dive in a little bit about that abandoning. I too was adopted, but I was an infant. When did you kind of find your identity and take strength in knowing that there is a purpose for you, and there was a purpose for you even in those days?
Wow. So it's crazy. So full disclosure, and not to be political, but I was always thankful that for me, I wasn't an abortion, right?
Yeah.
I was very thankful that my mom gave birth to me. I think she was a hardworking woman. She was a nurse, remarried in high school. My stepdad and her decided to leave. And I was fortunate enough to be in a church, have some great people in my life. So I ended up living in 4 different homes. But the challenge is the adversity, right? Whether you're coaching, it's such an integral part of my life. And then the whole adoption issue is a whole nother issue that I know we have in common. But it's everything. When you live in 3 homes, and then I lived in my car my senior year, actually up to graduation, I was living in my car in a church parking lot.
Wow.
It's everything that I am today is because of that.
Well, that's pretty phenomenal. I'm just going to bring up your website right now. It's winthemoment1.com. And you do more than just coaching. And I would just say that you inspire kids. Can you just talk about your journey? Why is it that you feel as though you need to do more than teach kids how to hit, catch, and run?
Yeah, so it's easy, right? You remember the old the meme, the cat looking in the mirror, and he sees himself as a cat, but then you got that cat that sees the lion. That's it. It's looking at these kids not for what they are, but what they can be, and that's what people did for me when my parents walked out. I had a guy named Jeff Love in my life, and he used to tell me at 15, 16, 17. That if I navigated those days well, check this out, this is so crazy, that someday I would grow up and inspire young people to overcome adversity, and that there was nothing that they could not overcome. So as a coach, there's 2 things that I look at. One, other people trust me, in my case with their daughter. Man, what an awesome responsibility. As an educator, you are given permission to speak into young people's lives. That's powerful, right? We can't mess that up. But the other side of that is at 15 and 16 and 17, people made me believe that I could grow up, graduate high school, go to college, and someday be somebody. And I embraced that at an early age. I've worked with young people for 30 years full-time now, since 1990. And I'm convinced that if we will get away from seeing young people as they look in front of us and see them for what they have the ability to grow up and become. In other words, believe in them, man, well, we're going to be powerful as a society. We need to empower these kids, because even the ones from tough homes and tough backgrounds, man, that story is not for you and me. My story is for every person I come in contact with.
I definitely agree with that. And I think, you've adjusted well, and just finding that purpose has been huge. One thing about coaching, I know primarily with the basketball, is so much coaching takes place outside of just the normal practices, and definitely outside of the games. Here's a picture, just throwing batting practice under the lights. Can you just talk about, if you got paid by the hour, it would not be worth it, but you do not get paid by the hour. You get paid by that impact and influence you have. Just share a little bit about that.
It is. Well, for two quick things, the guy throwing front toss behind you, that's a kid named Emma, her high school coach. But I have spent many hours doing it. So if you're in coaching for money, for fame, for credit, for a title, you've missed the point, right? The purpose for coaching is the impact. And you're right. I tell young coaches aspiring to be head coaches, 90% of being a head coach has nothing to do with the game. Yeah. It's parents, it's mental preparation, it's counselor, it's dad and mom. And the reality is, sports, if properly utilized, have a powerful life correlation. Life is going to let you down. Life is going to punch you in the mouth. Life is going to make a bad call. And you can complain about it, or you can embrace that failure, as a buddy of mine, John Maxwell, says, learning to fail forward. Yeah. And sports, softball, look, if you fail 70% of the time, you're an incredible hitter. MLB, if you fail 70% of the time, you're a Hall of Famer, right? So what does that say about overcoming adversity? And it's powerful. Coaching is the single most powerful calling on the planet. I would put it right there with preachers and pastors, but it's powerful. And when you put it in the context of parenting, even more so, because as a coach, it's not my kids. I have been trusted with another man's daughter or a mom's daughter, and that's powerful. Yeah. No money can ever compensate for that.
Oh, it's so true. I often share a story. When I was on radio, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, I got to interview Coach Yost. He was the defensive coach, the white coach from the movie Remember the Titans. But in real life, he said he wanted to become a pastor until he realized more kids played football than went to church. So he wanted to teach the same principles instead of trying to coerce or compel kids to attend church once a week. And coaching is huge. Talk a little bit more about your website, winthemoment1.com. What do you offer? Why is it so important for people to get involved and just see what it is you do and provide for different students?
Well, first of all, I tell people I got bullied into Win the Moment. But I taught with a young coach who basically griped at me for not sharing more of what I was sharing in the classroom. But basically, and I think on our website there, it says Coaching Champions for Life. And what I enjoy doing is being invited into locker rooms. For 5 years, I was on the Austin Westlake football staff. Been to a number of different football programs. Coach Anthony Williams runs football showcases all over the country. Been invited to speak to his group. So what I try to do is come in and come alongside coaches. Most of our clinics have been at the high school setting, primarily football and softball so far. I do some one-on-one coaching. I also attend a number of practices. But basically what I try to do is come alongside these coaches and say the things they're trying to say, but in a different way. It's a classroom setting. We provide notebooks. It's a pencil and paper type of clinic. I think that we make it inspiring. I think it's funny. I think it's a great 2.5 hours. But the ability to come alongside these high school travel ball coaches, we've been in 4 different universities now, and basically help these coaches instill the mental side of the game. You and I have talked about this. There's so much more to the physical side. Yeah. And, people talk about it being, 80% mental. I think sports is 100% mental. Yeah. Every single thing you do begins with a thought process. I'm going to pop up. She's going to throw me a changeup. I'm going to miss my block. Well, how do we get past those roadblocks? And I say this all the time. I believe in you. That's pretty powerful, right? Coming from a coach.
Yeah.
But what's more powerful is when you as the coach convince the student athlete to believe in themselves. And then you become powerful. And that's what Win the Moment's all about. It's about empowering the student athlete to believe in themselves, overcome and embrace adversity, understand that to win, you must fail. It is part of the journey. And people that overcome adversity the best become champions on the field and in life.
Well, I agree with that. And it's been said, I think it's John C. Maxwell, that success is not the opposite of failure, but success comes brick by brick from learning from your failures. Now, Coach John Carpenter, make some time, winthemoment1.com. Just thinking about your background, and I believe that there's some things that only experience can teach, or evaluated experience. How important is it for young coaches to be self-aware so they can really pick up what you're trying to teach, that it goes beyond the X's and O's?
Yeah. Wow. What a great question. And it's powerful. Here's what I would tell a young coach. Don't have a higher expectation level of those you coach than you have for yourself. Interesting. Just an hour ago, I was talking to a first base umpire, and I said that the coach, the umpire, the parent, the teacher that you ought to fear is one that does not realize they are still learning. And I would tell young coaches, learn, steal, borrow, beg, learn from the coaches around you. I said a long time ago, if there's 100 great softball coaches, hey, I'm happy to be in the top 95. If I'm 95, 96, 97 on that list, great. But you have to surround yourself with greatness. I was privileged to be around Darren Allman at Austin Westlake for a number of years. Of course, people know what I feel of guys like Scott Smith, and we can name drop all day, Tony Rico, so many different great softball coaches. Ken Erickson, most people know, the U.S. coach. I consider him to be a mentor. But your circle of influence as a young coach, surround yourself with people that are more knowledgeable than you, that have been successful, i.e. done it, been there and done that. Don't be afraid of failure. Look, I have failed my kids. I tell umpires all the time, I've run more kids into outs than I've seen bad calls from an umpire. But be willing to own it. We ask athletes to own it. I messed up a call this morning. I looked at my team. That's me. I'll run laps. But we have to understand that we are only as good as those around us. And I promise you this, on any staff I've been in, I have not been the smartest coach, and I've been the head coach on all of them. But if wisdom is about who I hire, then I'm pretty smart, because I've got guys like Tom and Wade and James, so many incredible men and women around me, and they make me look good. And back to your point, head coaching, man, it's 90% off the field. Yeah. So you have to surround yourself with great people.
So it's been said that if you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. Now, with athletes, sometimes you have to understand your roles. And when you want a team, sometimes the best player doesn't want to accept the fact that they're the best player. How do you negotiate, navigate them in that mindset that it's okay to be the best on the team for the team?
Yeah. So here's the deal. And I think this is a good way to answer it. Confidence versus arrogance. I want the confident kid on my team. I want that kid with a little swagger. I don't want the cocky, arrogant kid. An arrogant student athlete believes it's about them. A confident student athlete understands it's about their teammates. So here's a great question for you. If Michael Jordan is the worst player on your team, how good are you? Right? And so I've said this. The greatest teammate is the teammate who is constantly pushing their teammates up. In other words, celebrate others' successes. If you're the best player on your team, you don't have to tell anybody. You just lead by example. And it's, can you say this? The silent assassin. It's that kid that never says a word. But they're the leader. Great leaders lead quietly they lead greatly, and they lead with their actions. And maybe occasionally you got to get in a teammate's face. But here's the deal. If I'm quote unquote the best, smartest person in the room, I need to get in a different room. Yeah. If I'm the best player on the team, I might need to find a better team because I want to be pulled. Great players aspire greatness, and
Yeah, definitely. Hey, coach. So this player, Emma, became like an internet sensation recently. Can you just talk about how to keep kids confident when there is such a pull on them to be arrogant, to believe the scouting report, whether it's Emma or other players? As a coach, how do you build confidence but keep the reins on them just as well?
Yeah, great question. So somebody taught me this as a coach. Don't believe all the good stuff. Don't believe all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Live somewhere in the middle. Emma's a great example, right? I'm going to tell you what I've told her. Let's be honest. This is front toss.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this front toss video, I've seen thousands of them. I have no idea why this one went viral. The young lady has an incredible swing. Don't minimize it. You still find the ball and drive it 220, 240 feet. And she does a great job on several videos. But the one thing I told Em is stay humble. You understand that this was kind of a freak novelty. I mean, it's almost 16 million views. I don't understand that. And I'd love to take credit for it all. But here's the deal. You have to stay humble. This kid went from a half a dozen college phone calls to over 40 overnight. That's a whole nother discussion. But the reality is don't read the press. Don't read the press. They will overhype you. And at the same time, they will pick on you unmercifully. And as you can imagine, she struggled right after the video.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with her. Now she comes to Oklahoma City, drops a couple bombs. It's been great. But you have to allow these kids to keep their feet grounded. And again, my conversation to her is she didn't have 15, 16 million views. The Texas Bombers organization, they have 15 million views. And I want her and every other kid that plays for me to understand that. You got to push other people up.
That's great perspective. Coach, so I have a actual coaching question. I was a kid at T-ball that would hit the tee, and like basketball, I focus on the rim. I don't watch the ball. Batting, and people said watch the laces, and I couldn't even see the ball. So how do good hitters hit so well? Good hitters hit consistently well.
Well, it's interesting. I saw a post about this, and I forget what the post was. But my philosophy in hitting is you have to go to the plate with a plan. You can't walk up there guessing, hoping. And this is actually part of a Win the Moment clinic. So often it's your thought process. You put the work in off the field. On the field reveals the work you put in. Yeah. So for me, it's have a plan. We got a number system. Look, if I'm hitting 500 down and in, then I'm looking for down and in. In other words, I'm looking for this pitch. If we're sitting fast or we're sitting change up, then I'm going to let you know. I've told kids many, many times, if this kid throws you 3 change ups and strikes you out, that's on me. But we're looking fast. We're looking middle out. We're looking middle in. But you have to, any sport, you have to approach it with a plan. And I actually do a talk on this, outcome versus goals. Outcome is the result, right? Goals are the process. So as a hitter, a hit or a home run or a strikeout, that is the result. That's the outcome. Don't focus on the outcome. I have to go get a hit. I have to win a championship. No, you don't. You have to win this moment. I want you to go put a great swing on it. And if you put a great swing on it enough times, you're going to find the gaps. You're going to find the holes, right? I can't try to win a championship. I have to try to win a practice, to win a game, to win a pitch. And if we win enough pitches, we're going to wake up and go, we're national champions. I'm fortunate enough to coach in 3 of them. And we've seen a large amount of success. But I can promise you this. We've never tried to win a national championship. We go out there and try to respect the game, try to play the game right. And if we can do that and repeat that, it's like being a great dad.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a great dad right now, but if you do the right things every single day, someday you wake up and you're honored by your kid.
I was told, reminded a couple years ago, my son just graduated from high school. My daughter's going into her junior year of high school, but I was reminded that we raise adults, we don't raise kids. And that just really put things in perspective to look out in front instead of just the immediate.
Sure. And real quick, if I can interject, you want to know what kind of parent you were? See what kind of parent your children become.
Yeah.
That's when it's revealed.
So let me ask you this, Coach John Carpenter, winthemoment1.com. Going through what you did in high school, experiencing that sense that you have felt, have you felt that there's a chip on your shoulder that you have to prove that you have self-worth, or there's a monkey on your back that you have to show that you are worth it? Or when did you find your identity, whether as a Christian or something else, that you're okay, whether you ever achieve that ultimate successful position that people say or not?
Yeah. So let me say this, and I'm always careful with my faith, but I never shy away from it. Ultimately, John Carpenter's identity is in Jesus Christ. Ultimately, it's about what Christ did on the cross for me, and I'm not preaching to the audience. But at the end of the day, the victory for me has already been had, right? So, but if we want to put it in a human perspective, yeah, there was a chip. Yeah. Growing up, let me tell you something, and this could be another discussion. I thought about suicide. I thought about drugs. I thought about dropping out. I thought about quitting. All of those things went through my mind. And I tell people all the time, I have 3 college degrees, and my greatest degree is my high school diploma, because that was the challenge for me. I woke up every single day. Keep in mind, my last 3 years of high school, nobody made me go to class. Nobody made me study. Nobody made me take a test. How in the heck I graduated from high school is beyond me. And so I think the chip was, I'm going to succeed because somewhere there's a young man, a young woman who is going to need my story. Somewhere out there, there's a kid that's contemplating self-harm. Somewhere out there, there's a kid contemplating drugs, contemplating things that are not positive for their future. Look, if anybody had a reason to quit, it was me. But my drive was every kid that I coach now. That was my drive. Is that I've said this. Everybody knows who Billy Graham is, right? But does anybody know who Mordecai is? Mordecai is the guy that led Billy Graham to Christ. But everybody knows Billy Graham. I want to be Mordecai. Coach Carp's Mordecai. I don't want anybody to know who I am, but I want to instill and inspire kids that they grow up and be great. Because at the end of the day, I've never won a game in my lifetime as a coach. Not a single one. I've been blessed to coach some kids who have won a few games, but it's on them. When we lose, it's on me. When we win, it's on them. So the chip now is, I want every single young person that ever comes into my life, that walks across my path, to believe that they can, that no matter their home life, no matter their struggles academically, test taking, no matter those emotional and mental things that they're going through, their life has a purpose. And if you begin to believe that the purpose of your life has nothing to do with you, my life has nothing to do with John Carpenter. It has everything to do with that young man or that young woman who's going to grow up and change the world. And if I can say one thing that inspires them, I'm good. So that's the chip. That's chip.
Excellent. And that's excellent. And I read a book a little while ago. It's called Hero Maker. It's kind of in the church context, but I love how it says, stop trying to be the hero, become the hero maker. And I think, Coach, you do a great job at that and with that. A couple questions, and we'll get you out. Thanks again for making the time on game day. But this next question kind of ties in. And this is not a political statement, as we said before, but sports brings so much into students' mental space where they can be free, where they can focus on something that's fun. If students are not allowed that opportunity to play sports, where do you think there is going to be that space for that mental health to take place?
Well, I'm gonna just full disclosure. It it. I'm trying to come up with an appropriate word. It scares me to death
Yeah,
to think that we are going to take the outdoors, the indoors, that we're going to take sport away from these young people. I understand that coronavirus is a real deal. We can have another discussion about that. There is something out there that is unsafe. We need to
yeah,
protect the most vulnerable. But I'm going to tell you what, the long-term damage that we're doing to an entire generation right now by telling these young people to sit in their house, get on their phones, get on their computers, and be secluded from human contact, it's dangerous, it's scary, and it is going to have decade-long impact. And I understand the passion of this discussion. We have got to open it up. We have got to play football this fall. It's not about football. It's not
right.
about volleyball. It's about the health and the well-being, the mental stability of these young people. We're born to compete, and we're born for human interaction. And we have got to get these kids off the couch and get their blood flowing again. I pray that our government leaders open this thing. I understand we need to be careful, and we do. We need to take all the necessary precautions that we can. We have got to get these kiddos back out on the field, back out on the dirt, back out in our gyms, because we need it. They need it.
Yeah, oh, most definitely. And I think it's kind of nice for me being in the sticks up here in Vermont, that country living. It ain't so bad right now. It ain't so bad. Coach, so if you were featured in a movie, would you want to play the villain or the hero?
No, man, I'm the hill. First of all, Bruce Willis.
There you
Look.
go.
I posted a picture one time. I'm pretty sure Bruce Willis is my father. And if we can prove that, I can get a little bit of money out of him. Um, no, the hero. Everybody knows I'm the people pleaser. I coach with a guy by the name of Scott Smith, and we're yin and yang, and I think he's yang. But it's such a great fit. It's such a great partnership. No, man, I want to save the day. I want to be the guy that takes the bullet for somebody. Here's the deal. I got one life to live. And if my life can impact the kid that grows up and changes the world, then I want to be that guy. I have no idea. I'm 52 years old. I have no idea if I've made an impact yet. Other people are going to have to speak to that. But I'll tell you what, it only takes the right kid, the right word to the right kid who grows up and changes the world. I want to be that guy.
And coach, the last question I'll get you out on is simply, if you met you when you were 13 years old, would you have been receptive to your communication, to your story?
Wow. That's like a higher level question there. Man, how do you answer that? So here's my answer. I hope I would. And here's the way I would answer it. There were a couple guys, Jeff, Lauren, some guys in my life when I was 15, 16, 17, that I may not have been listening to with my face, but I was listening
Yes.
to them with my heart.
Yeah.
And so I like to think that I do what I do today because I did listen to somebody who was like me. I've never done drugs. I don't drink, never have. Deeply in love with Mama Carp. I fail a lot, but I hope that I listened, because I try to be as genuine as I can. I'm never going to be famous. I'm never going to be rich, but I want to be genuine. And I hope my life proves that maybe I listened somewhere, even if it didn't look like it at the time.
Well, I think it's evident that you have, Coach John Carpenter. Thank you so much for making the time. We wish you all the best. You said you have a game later tonight. Is that right?
8 p.m.
And what happens if you win or when you win?
Not yet. Don't know if. Hey, after we kick the tail out of somebody tonight, we turn around, play again tomorrow. We're in the USA Softball Gold Nationals in Oklahoma City, 18U. Got to win about 4 or 5, but I think we're going to do it.
How is it playing multiple games in the same day? Is it an adjustment, or you guys just want to get up there and play?
It's, I think the girls want to get out there and go. I actually, on Thursday, I coached in 6 consecutive 90-minute games with no break. I love it. I'm getting older, but my heart is about 20. I think the girls want to get out there and just go. And national championship play. Like I said, this is, I've played in 3 big games, and I geek out. This is the time of year that I love, and I think the girls do too.
Hey, Coach, thanks so much. We wish you all the best, and going to be cheering you on from afar, and would love to stay in touch. So thanks again.
Absolutely, man. You guys stay safe up there. I guess you're a little bit cooler than we are, but stay safe up there.
All right. Thanks again. And that's Coach John Carpenter. Make some time, winthemoment1.com. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Jay Fuller Interviews.